Good evening. This is the November 13th meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Public Services Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is yesterday was the 11th of November. I'm sorry. The 11th was Sunday, and yesterday was the formal holiday that was celebrated. But tonight, I'd like to, I know the Commission feels this way, I'd like to thank all the veterans that served in the military to keep this country safe and to allow meetings and democracy like we have here at our Grosse Ile Township and at our Public Service Commission. So to all veterans, thank you. You will not be forgotten.
Very good, Phil.
And with that, we'll call the roll. Kennedy?
Here.
Schmidtke?
Present.
Riley?
Here.
Budney?
Here.
Van Haas? And Lenny Pedestris and Brenda Collier are both out of town tonight or tied up with other things. So excused from our meeting tonight, and we do have a quorum. Next, to have a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Supported the agenda be approved as distributed. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We also have the entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our October 9th meeting. And before we have a motion, everybody had a handout here tonight, and in red there are 2 pages from the minutes from what you were mailed out with some minor clarifications just to clarify the minutes. That's really what they are. You have a chance to look at those. Just a couple of words here and there.
Yep.
Unless there's an objection, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 9th.
I move that the minutes of October 9th be approved.
Their support.
Support.
Supported the minutes of October 9th be approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have approval of vouchers found on pages 9 through 14. Unless there's any questions, I entertain a motion for approval.
I move that the approve the vouchers.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 7 on our agenda is a statement of our revenues and expenditures. We're closing in on the end of the year. This is for our water, sewer, refuse funds, wastewater treatment plant. Are there any questions? If not, we'll receive and file those. Next is the Treasurer's Report for October 2018, found on pages 21 and 22 of your packet.
What about the statements and revenue expenses?
Well, I just,
Received and filed.
I was a little too fast here. You have a question, Les?
I had one question on there.
Go ahead.
John, I noticed there
what
was
page?
some meter parts for,
What page, Les?
meter parts for $7,000. Page 11, Ferguson Waterworks for meter parts. Oh, never mind.
All right. Now we're on item 8, the approval of the Treasurer's Report, pages 21 and 22. If there are no questions, I entertain a motion to accept the Treasurer's Report.
Motion that the Treasurer's Report for October of 2018 be approved.
Support.
Motion's been made. Any questions? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 We have a pretty straightforward agenda this evening. There is no one in the audience to address us, so we'll move on. There are no action items. Manager's report. Turn it over to our Director Lorinda Beneteau. Lorinda?
No, the project is all completed except for the final restoration, which will take place next spring.
Talking about West River Road.
Yeah, for West River Road, yes. The striping was completed Friday, and then yesterday they finished up some of the cutting of the driveways that they had poured. I talked with Bill Bettendorf yesterday, and then today I got an update, and all they have left to do is restoration now. Looks good.
Now, who has been there to look at the project since the paving's been done?
Me.
Me. Jim, Ted, or staff. And by the way, Jim Nelson, a trustee with the township, a former member of the DPS Commission, is in our audience. Thank you for being here, Jim.
Thanks for letting me stay.
Well, anyway, most of us have been there. John, it would behoove you to go look at it.
I did. I just raised my hand. I didn't say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Several times. On
Well-
a motorcycle, even.
Well, number one, the project, my discussion here is the project went very well. We had a contractor that did not ask for a $4 million project for one change order. There were two change orders that we proposed, one having to do to add some drainage in a particular area, and a second one is to change the ditching, to shallow the ditching, and actually it wasn't that expensive for us to do based on some recommendations of the contractor. So that's one issue. Complaints, I only had a couple of calls from people I knew, and they weren't big deals, and immediately they were taken care of. I've talked to staff. You've had very few complaints. Contractor always said he was going to do when he did it. And you'll notice at the Free Bridge, they stockpiled and in smaller truckloads, shipped stuff over. There were no incidents that I'm aware of. So here's a thought for the commission. I told the staff that what I'd like to do is invite them to our December meeting, the owners of Bid Gary Construction, whoever they are, the foreman, and give them a certificate of appreciation. And I wonder how you feel about that. I think for that size job, I'd like to acknowledge a job well done for our community.
I think that's a good idea, Bill, and if you go across the bridge, you see that they're cleaning up where they were doing everything on the other side of the bridge. They're cleaning that up very nicely. They've done a very nice job, and certainly a certificate would be the least we could do.
Is there any opposition to that idea? No. Okay, good. We'll do that then. Thank you. Ember Court Drainage Project. Lorinda? Or John?
Okay. All right. Well, it was at our last meeting. I explained that it had been they had started on it and they were to be completed by the end of the week, which they did. The only thing left to do now is to plant some of the trees next spring as part of the restoration project. But everything went. Everybody's been happy with it. I talked to Mr. Muckenheim from Ember Court, and he gave an update to his association, and everybody's ecstatic about the project. So. Next spring, they won't be having a lake back there. So everything's been completed.
I went by it today. Have you been by it, Jim?
Not late.
Finished?
No, I haven't.
And they've covered it with straw and mulch blankets. It's about a 3-foot, maybe some places 4-foot wide trail up alongside the one house to the rear yard. I mean, it's as neat and tidy as can be. It's done. I know that when I was out there a few weeks ago, they were hand digging, and so that went well and didn't cost us a great deal of money. So hopefully it'll work.
Residents were very happy, and the contractor did an outstanding job. And we've had 2 very heavy rainfalls, not an issue. Water's gone.
Well, good.
If you all remember when we started the project, there was a lake back there.
Very good. All right, should we move on then? Item number 3, our wastewater treatment plant, a couple of major issues. Ryan Walsh, our Director at the wastewater plant, you've got the floor. And in your packet, there were two items that Ryan will refer to page 23 and 25. Ryan?
Hello, everyone. Okay, the first memo in the packet has to do with the Duperrin influent bar screen status. We're waiting on approval from the MDQ for the basis of design in regards to the new screens. Once that's approved, we will then be able to submit our Part 41 permit application. CE Rains is waiting on the final layout of the screens from Duperrin. And once CE Rains has that, CE Rains will then prepare fully detailed specifications of the installation and retrofit of the new screens.
So are there any questions? You know, I know this was a critical item. Do you think, I don't know what format it's going to be in, but do you think by our December meeting, a month from now, we ought to have a clear pathway so that we can go out and bid this item and bring it back to our February meeting or sooner for approval?
Yes, I believe so. It's been moving slowly, I know, but that's the way it is. It's just so.
Sure. Well,
I believe so. Yes.
You've had our engineers, another engineering firm, Duperon,
A lot of
and
it's a lot. Yep.
The state all involved.
Yes. Yep.
So it's trying to mesh everything together. So
Yep. I agree.
okay, and no questions on our bar screen project. Elevators at the
Okay.
wastewater plant.
Next is the elevator to horseway ventilation. The fix involves the installation of a fire alarm and a fan that will be triggered by the fire alarm, and an additional fan that will force outside air into the hoist way there. And so Guy and Missler has came up with that, and a total cost estimate is still being figured out for that. And once Guy and Missler has that, they will forward that on to CE Rains, and then CE Rains, we still need permission from the state inspector, so that we can move forward on that. That's where that's at.
Ryan, where did the fire alarm, where did that come from? Was that Guy Missler, or was that?
Yes, that was. Yep.
They said that.
Guy and Missler recommended that. Yep.
I mean, have we ever had fires in there in the shaft, or I mean,
No, we haven't,
I was trying to figure out why the fire alarm.
I'm not real sure about that,
But that was what they came up with.
what they recommended. Yep.
That's a simple, low-cost item, correct? Should
Yes, I believe so.
well, we're going to get an estimate of cost, I assume.
Yes, we will.
When I read the memo from Sohail, our engineer on this, it seemed like the state inspector has not been cooperative.
No.
Yeah, that's what I was had underlined. Yeah.
So you've met with him?
Yes, I have. And I've been in contact with him, phone calls, emails, and everything. I mean, just reassuring him that we are moving forward on this. And, yeah. So.
Well, he sometimes, the staff has got to keep in touch with people like a state inspector.
Yeah.
But if you need help from somebody who's, I'm not an elected official, but I'm sure I can
Okay.
get Jim or Ted
Sure.
and myself to get after his boss. I guess if it gets
Okay.
further stymied and he won't make a decision, I mean, we're trying to say, here's a plan. As I see it, we're saying, here's a plan to put ventilation in the elevator shaft at the wastewater plant. And he's not telling you, yes, this will work, or no, this won't, until we come back with a plan, right?
Right. Yep.
So we're going to come back with a plan and ask him to approve it. If he doesn't do that, I think you need to let Lorinda know, and she'll let some of us know. And we're not staff. We can say
Yeah,
we're elected officials. We'll go and see if we can't go talk to the guy and say, we're going to go above your head. We need an answer. Seems reasonable.
I mean, that's the issue is we don't want to have it locked out also. And, yeah. So.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
other issue is we still have the cable issue, the replacement of the cables.
Which is after this. Yep.
After we can't do it
After-
till this is done.
Yes. Yep.
Where does that stand?
That's in line. Well, he said that we have to fully get new cables. So, yeah.
Can't do that till it's ventilated.
Yes. Yep. That's correct.
Or any movement on the design for the cables, or it's expensive, I know, and I don't know what the cost is yet.
I think it was like 10 grand.
Replace them or
Something
just
like
to buy
that.
them?
Fully to have them installed and everything.
Really? I thought
Yeah.
it'd be more than that. I mean, I
That's
don't
all
know
it
anything about
was.
elevators. Is anybody? Last you?
Go- And those were stainless steel cables?
I'm trying to think.
I thought when we talked, we were talking about
Yeah.
stainless steel.
I believe so. Yep.
Okay. Are there any other questions while we got Ryan here on those two issues? Now, Ryan, how's everything else at the plant running? Oh, these are the two focus projects you have?
Real well. No other issues there. I mean, we've had higher flows there at the plant, but we haven't had any no issues.
Okay.
It's operating well.
Your flows at the plant, we haven't had any problem discharges, have we?
No. Nope.
Reminds me that, I don't know if John sent it to everybody, but when they were finishing the TVing for this year, you pulled out a big log.
Right.
Did everybody see that? The email? Did you bring it with you? Can you show it up on the screen? Now that was in a manhole?
Correct. In fact, it has the manhole.
Manhole came out too.
Out too.
How does something like that grow or end up in a sanitary sewer manhole?
This manhole is a connection on the interceptor sewer for Catron Court. So at some point there was a tree close to that manhole. As you can see, the tree in the background is about 75 feet away, so it didn't come from there. But what happened, there was a tree there at one point, and a tree root got into that connection, and there's a rubber boot where that pipe connects to the interceptor. So the root got in there through the rubber connection, and it just grew and grew and grew because that water's dumping down on top of that root 24/7. So and that's the best fertilizer you can have. And you can see that is a root. That's not even a tree. That's a root of a tree.
Well,
That's not the first one. We had one on Church Road, just south of, actually on Park Lane, just south of Church Road. We were in there and happened to open the manhole up, and we look in there, and the people have maple trees in their front yard. And the root was about that big around after it came through underneath the casting. It looked just like that. We put a chain on it, and this is many, many years ago, and we pulled that thing out. But yeah, it does happen.
They proceeded south from this manhole on the interceptor. They literally took out 2 pickup truck loads of large rocks that are in that sewer line.
How big a pipe is it?
36.
It's a big pipe. So it's coming, it's not just servicing Catherine Court. I mean, there's nothing there to speak of, right?
Right.
Interceptor sewer?
Correct. All the way to the treatment plant.
All right, so while you're there, John, is it your plan at our December meeting to have a presentation made on the $150,000 sanitary sewer TV, the results of this year's program?
Yes, sir. We're currently at 138,000. They've got maybe a week's worth of work left to go.
On any major leaks?
No, just these roots and all those rocks. I mean, there is some pipe that needs attention, and we'll have that in the final report from CE Rains Company. That they found, that was in the beginning of the project, they actually found that.
When you come back, will you bring a marked up map of the areas you did do so we know, so we have a feel
Absolutely.
for what we're going to do next year? And that just means everything's going to get quicker to Ryan's plant without finding any major leaks. So. All right. Any more questions on sewers? Thank you.
Well, I got one thing to say to Jim Budney. Jim, you said, has there ever been a fire at the plant?
I said in the shaft.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if John or Lorena, can you go back up on the next item? Oh. So that's it on the wastewater plant.
Right.
Discussion items. Can you show the map on Hawthorne up on the screen, if it'll come off very well? So you'll recall, I mean, I've talked to our engineers about this and to Gary Latondras. In fact, he's the president of Hawthorne. He told me he was going to be here tonight, so obviously he's not. So if you see the north end of the pond on the upper side of the drawing here, there's a pond to the left of where the red starts. There's also, and you can't see it, it's off to the right, there's a pond too. That pond it's green actually. This must have been taken at a time when it was full of algae, because there's no fountain or anything in that, so it gets full of algae. But at any rate, that whole area marked in red, which is really behind Meridian School, is all part of the Frenchman's Creek. It's the beginning of the Frenchman's Creek drainage course, and it runs into that large open space behind Loma Circle and then all the way out towards the airport. But this is very flat, and it's heavily overgrown, not only with trees and bushes, but with all kinds of wetland grasses, or, I don't know, sawgrasses, or whatever you want to call them. And we couldn't get in there to do any, till things died off, to do any survey work, to take too many grades. We did take some shots. But what it looks like to relieve the flooding, these ponds, the water will almost, in heavy rains, laps at the porches of these properties. It's just, there's a couple of culverts involved. At the beginning of the north, I call it the north end. It is the north end. And there's a culvert on the south end, too, that have to be probably replaced. I mean, what they tell me is they're full. So it'd probably be cheaper to replace them than clean them if they're full of muck. At any rate, that looks like the project. I wanted to give you an update on that. The rains we had in early October, or sometime in October, the heavy rains we had, the ponds filled up again. There were people communicating with each other again about it. And so we have to do some kind of a clean out. And we're really looking at a clean out of about 500 feet of ditch behind the school property over to the Frenchman's Creek. And then it's just it's all wetland behind Loma Circle here. And that's the project. What I've asked the engineers to do now is come back with detailed elevation shots, make sure our clean-out effort will work, and they'll bring back a cost estimate at our next meeting. So unless anybody has any questions, that's the direction that I think they're going in. Do you have any input, John or Lorinda? Les, historically, anything you know about that?
Yeah, I know about it. But is that on Hawthorne Glen's property?
No, well, I don't.
That's an issue. We need to know that.
Okay. What are you gonna, I mean, I don't know whose property it is. It's the drainage course. There's to the left of that red streak there's a berm, and there's a whole series of pine trees along there.
Well, you see, when they built these condominiums in there, they rerouted the natural flow of that drainage. Because it used to come across here and down this way. So then they put that culvert in, and it comes around this building now.
That's what building is that you're talking about?
This set of condominiums.
Condo buildings?
Yeah, right there. You see where I'm pointing?
Yeah.
Where did it used to go, Les?
They used to cut that.
Went right through the buildings? I mean,
You can see my finger?
Yeah.
It used to come this way, right straight through there and down that way.
okay.
But when they started developing that, they rerouted that natural flow and natural lay of the land. So he could accommodate building those condominiums.
All right, well, at any rate, there's no drainage there to speak of, so I don't know the answer. I guess we'll have to find out whose property it is.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's our responsibility to be cleaning drainage on his property, on the condos association property. They have maintenance fees to take care of that.
I'll check into it. That'd be another question we'll ask. Okay.
And
Bill? What's the spec? You have the L-shaped drainages there. Then there's right below that. There's another little
Triangle, the little red triangle.
Yeah.
Just clean out more of the ditch.
Just more of the ditch. Okay.
All right. We'll find out, Les, whose property that is.
Hey, Bill?
Yep.
Does this in any way, shape, or form affect the, when it rains at the country club, the lower areas are 8 or 10 feet deep of water?
At the country club? I don't think it drains the country club.
Too far north, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's just all natural there, and why it gets it. Yeah, it's always done that, and
Drains and this and that.
yeah.
Tried to help
I don't think it comes in Frenchman's Creek from the country club.
Pardon?
I don't think it comes from Frenchman's Creek. There have to be an underground.
The drainage in the front of those houses, because if you ever notice on a real heavy rain, all those, they almost look like they're waterfront
in the
properties.
front,
too,
right
because
along Meridian. Along Meridian.
That
Yeah.
watershed comes up to Meridian,
What watershed?
the one you're talking about draining.
Those properties drain this way?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like this is a higher elevation.
It is, according
How
to
does
the
the
topo.
water-
But it goes that way. Les can tell you more about it, but it actually crosses Meridian.
Homes at Front Meridian, back up to the golf course? It comes
Frenchman's Creek used to be like this. With all these fingers coming into Frenchman's Creek. Like this is from Parkway through the golf course and out Frenchman's Creek. And if you look, there is a map somewhere, I don't know if it's hanging in the building department or where, but it's a picture of Frenchman's Creek long time ago. And like I say, the fingers are like this. One finger goes all the way over to Ferry Road and comes underneath Macomb Street and underneath Bellevue and Parkway, and it goes all the way down. I know when we were kids, we used to run in all that stuff.
Where's this map at? I'd like to see that.
Well, there's an old map, I think, that was in one of the historic books one time. It's like 100 years old, the map is. And it shows you, there's like an underground tributary that runs right through Grosse Ile Country Club, and it goes right down through
You're right.
where Palmer built the
Yeah.
condominiums.
I think that drawing is probably one of those room drawings you've got down at the old DPS offices there. I've seen it.
Might be, it's like a charcoal drawing, like a black
Yes,
and white.
right.
There's no color to it.
All right, so based on this input, there's no way, I'm just going to make a statement. In my casual visual observation, the properties that front Meridian, those homes that fill up with water at the end of Manchester in that area, there's no way water from there is going to go this way.
Yes, it does. That's part of the
Higher,
finger.
this looks higher here.
That's part of the finger that comes this way. Where it does, it goes underground, not at the house that's directly at the end of Manchester, but the one north of it. It goes underground there, and then it goes into manholes, and it goes around that house that the guy who used to own all the Burger Kings. He put all the manholes in. And it goes around that house, and then it comes out again.
It comes this way.
And comes this way.
Looks higher here, that's all that's just from my eyesight.
Yeah, that is, yeah, it flows south.
Just so you know, Bill, there is a pipe that comes under Meridian right in Brenda's front yard. We've repaired it when we did the interceptor sewer. It goes from behind her house, out of that open space, and comes under Meridian and goes into that ditch.
Is it flowing from the east to west?
Correct. So,
All right.
so it would be beneficial to all of those people north of this project you're referring to. If we clean that out, it's all going to go. Now, you won't have lakefront property every time it rains hard.
Okay, well, we'll explore that. We'll explore the property ownership. I had no idea that. Okay. That's quite a long way from there. All right, so we're
Like
going to.
Les said, it comes all the way from
Gather
Fairhaven.
all this information and shoot the grades, okay? Okay, that's a discussion item. The chairman doesn't have any report. Before we get close to ending this brief meeting, I see that we now have two guests here. And the first one that arrived was Bob Zielinski. Bob? Zalaski, do you want to? Zalasko, I'm sorry, Bob. Do you want to address us or have any questions for us? Or? And then next is Mr. Heil. Welcome to our meeting.
Come when I can. We had an opening this evening. I always watch your meetings, as you know, on TV, Bill. First of all, fine job on East River. I drove down there the other day. It's fantastic.
West River?
West River?
West River, excuse me. Yeah, very, very nice. As always, very thankful for the dust control program, but I watched your last meeting and you were commenting on adjusting the period so that you didn't have so much dust at the end of the summer session. Whatever you decide to do is fine. We're thankful for what you do. I guess my comment would be, and I don't know if Les or John or Lorenda can comment on this, but the worst 2 months for dust are May and June. That's when it's really bad. Right after the winter, and they come in and they grade that road. It really doesn't make any difference how much rain we get in the month of April. Within 24 hours, those dirt roads are dust anyway. So I guess my comment would be the month of May and June are really the worst. The little bit of dust that we get at the end of the season is really nothing. So
probably you're referring to my comment
yes.
where I was hoping that and I don't think we have the money to do two applications.
Right.
But I was assuming that with the spring rains, the worst would be August or September. You're saying it's the reverse of that.
Yes. I don't know if John or Lorenda or Les lives on a dirt road, if he would agree. I mean, that is when it's worse. The month of May is really bad. You're changing air filters on your cars.
Okay. Well, we'll keep that in mind
but
then.
I understand your theory, Bill, and I think it was a great idea. I'm just making a comment that the worst months on the dirt roads are in my neighborhood are May and June.
And you can't use less because he doesn't even know what street he's on.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a sign.
Doesn't have a sign.
The traffic volume is so light there that he's the only one that creates the dust, so there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's a good comment. Thanks for coming.
And folks, as always, you're doing a great job. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Mr. Heil. Welcome to our meeting.
I'm Bill Heil. I live on East River Road. I wanted to comment and express a few thoughts about this circumstance with the roads and the millage that didn't make it. It was maybe close, but it didn't get us. We didn't carry the ball over the over the goal line. I'd like to make some suggestions that would help perhaps to convince the public a little bit more about why they should be motivated to pass that millage. We were in favor of that. I'm not sure that the general public fully understands exactly, one, how monies for road repairs are collected, and two, how they're distributed. And within that how, what degree to which Grow Seal is entitled to the monies that they receive. That's point one. I think that if they understand what circumstance is, that's important. But beyond that, even if you understand what circumstance is, you might realize that in a way, Grow Seal ends up, when Wayne County gets around to distributing the portions, that what we receive is less than adequate to our needs. And then what is involved is several things. I mean, the way things are administrated, for example. If in fact Wayne County has a specific formula, that's one thing, and we need to understand that. But if, as I believe, they have a certain amount of discretion, where are we within that discretion? Then we have some trade-offs and have to be able to assert ourselves. And so what the public needs, as I see it, is one, an understanding of what circumstance really is. I'm of the opinion that part of public circumstance is that the federal government's got to begin appropriating more money to infrastructure, but that's an aside for the moment. We have to truly understand circumstance. And after we all truly understand circumstance, assert ourselves to a certain point on what we would do about it. I can take that same concept and turn it around and articulate it about bridges. I in some ways, am more concerned about bridges than I am about the roads. If I can't get over that bridge that I have to go to get to the world, I'm stuck. My wife can't go to work. A fire truck can't get to me. My grandson had an emergency. An ambulance couldn't take care of me or him if it was the right set of circumstance. And so we need some clarity of understanding about what our circumstance is on these issues, and that has to be extracted by study of what Wayne County could do and does do, or should do and doesn't do, but also who else has responsibilities, be they in the state or the federal government. And then we have to also understand how the system works and how we need to be more effective in articulating our needs to those circumstances. We've talked on occasion, you and I both, about the fact that a pothole at Haggerty Road and Ford is going to get more attention than East River and Gray's Drive, because the greatest good to the greatest number of people is something. But when it boils down to the fact that you've got a bridge and it's the only one you have, that has a different balance of concern, and we have to be able to take advantage of opportunities that exist, and I understand that they do, but that we haven't used them to articulate our circumstance so that our level of priority is elevated. That's the gist of my remarks. I'm suggesting that the commission think about that in turn this be articulated with the board and its members so that we can take effective action beyond simply saying, could you do something for us? I'm not saying that that's all we do. But we need to do something different. I mean, in my situation, when I go to the bridge, I know that for a fact that little 5 mile an hour deal has been up there for 6 or 7 months. it has all kinds of impact. If any of us, there's several hundred people there want to sell their homes, what do you think that does to their property values? Ultimately, what does that do to our tax base? We have to be able to find out exactly what's going to happen and when and what we need to do to make it work. Within that range, we might have to do more ourselves to dig into our own pockets. I'm not saying we have to like that, but most of the people on this island are old enough and mature enough to know that they had a set of plans for the family, and then several things went wrong, and maybe their son didn't get to go to summer camp at Interlochen that year. I mean, things have to be accepted. That's the concept that I'm articulating, and that's what I wanted to share. And thank you for listening.
I think your thoughts are well organized, and thank you for them. I appreciate it. Any other commissioners want to respond?
Well, to think about that for a minute, there's never enough money to go around,
Right.
no matter what it is. So, and it can be the smallest thing. So, Little League Baseball, baseballs are limited near the end of the season. That's just the way it works.
Right.
Same thing with the township. There's never enough money to go around. Now, let's look at bridges for a minute. So that little, we'll call it the 5-mile-an-hour bridge.
Yeah.
So the 5-mile-an-hour bridge, to me, is an extremely important health and safety situation. Reason is, something happens at that bridge, so it doesn't exist and can't be passed over. Now we've got people landlocked all the way south of there, and it's not just the people that live on the River Road, the island, or the people that go to the club down there at the end. So that's a pretty important, significant thing. Now, if we move to Park Lane,
A different story.
and that is a slightly different, but not completely different story. So there is a way for people to travel north of the Park Lane bridge closer to get down to further routes to take them where they need to go.
They have alternatives.
Yes, in your situation, there are none.
Right.
So when we talk about doing a lot of different things with the township money, to me, that bridge is a health and safety situation. It really is. And it seems to me that, for instance, Bob Meckenheim, real nice man, and we're taking care of that drainage problem at Ember Court. And that appeared to be somewhat reasonable in nature and expense. Now, to me, that was capable of being done because it wasn't overly expensive, and it doesn't necessarily mean your 5-mile-an-hour bridge should be ignored. So when we start looking at the levels of complexity from a funding standpoint, the more expensive an item becomes, the less likely your bridge problem would be solved if it was for something else. So you really, you meaning us, everybody, really need to look at that bridge problem. And if I look around the bridge down Church Road Bridge, that was fixed many years ago. And that might have been done in the 70s or 80s, and that's a very substantial, solid bridge. I think if we go a little farther, Horse Mill, there may be a bridge up there that's a brand new bridge up there. If we go down towards South Point, there's a brand new bridge up there. So when we start focusing on what's really important, okay, our roads are important, but the bridges are more important. And your bridge might be, if not the most, one of the most important things right now that we ought to be looking at, because there's never enough money to go around. So if it came to, and I like Bob Meckenheim, and I've known him for years. He's a professional person and very good at what he does. If it came to the Meckenheim fix was far too expensive using a table of relative balances, then we have to honestly say, well, maybe not now, but we need to look at a 5-mile-an-hour bridge. And I don't think right now anybody's really doing that, and that is a serious problem in it. Yes, it'll affect the property values, but more so, it's the health and safety.
Exactly, John.
So let's suppose, for some reason or other, that bridge is impassable someday, which, when they say 5 miles an hour, I hope that's not an overkill. So if an ambulance has to pick somebody up down at the country club or the Grocio Yacht Club and they can't get there, that's a real problem. I suppose they can take a boat over there, and they really probably can in the better weather, but that's a real problem. So there's so many things out here, bicycle paths, dust bonding, everything. There's so many things out here. Seems to me the 5-mile-an-hour bridge ought to be like, what, top priority?
Higher up.
Or maybe not higher up, maybe the top priority. And you might have to taper back some other venues of fix with our money, because we've got to look at that. And we all know we can't fix that bridge ourselves. It's too expensive. So whatever the county did and whoever did it years ago with the other bridges that I mentioned, it's time for the county to really take a look at that one. So when we want to politely cause attention to some difficulty, we really need to focus on extremely important things, and I think the 5-mile-an-hour bridge is one of them. So I'm glad you mentioned it, but that's been on my mind for a long time now, because that 5-mile-an-hour deal has been around for a while, and I know the county used to fix bridges, and I don't care if we're in formula, out of formula, whatever. You've got a health and safety problem there. Our traffic counts will never get high enough, and somebody's doorbell needs to get rung in order to make sure that that bridge gets addressed.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was articulating or trying to.
I think you said it better than I.
Well,
but I'm just trying to
there's an opportunity to approach the county with that kind of a balance of thought, where they have opportunity to take into. I'm not sure. I had a conversation about this, and frankly, right at the moment, I can't remember who I had the conversation with. But the point is that there is within our circumstance an opportunity to approach the county, as I understand it, and say, look, we have these, and I'm not just singling out the bridge, it just happens that in my life that's what I can speak about for myself, where we have this special circumstance that creates the opportunity to say, hey, there's people's lives that are in trouble here, the alternatives don't exist, and even though they might not be the highest volume of traffic or whatever other criteria are typically used, it is an opportunity to give it some priority.
It's the only volume of traffic over the 5-mile-an-hour bridge.
That's right, but it's very important to us. But the roads too. I mean, it's a matter of communication. Is what I'm talking about, and explaining why things exist, why they're important, how they work, and what we as citizens concerned about ourselves need to do about our roads or about our bridges. And when I thought about the bridge, when I hit the bridge a couple of weeks back, I thought, gee whiz, if there's no alternative, that's worse than the roads. That's where it came from. And thank you for your understanding.
Bill.
Don, you're right on target. Very good point.
Yeah, Les.
Do you realize that bridge there is the second bridge?
No.
The first bridge was east of that bridge.
In the same place, or? Basically, just a few.
Going over that small canal.
Right. But it was east of it by a few feet.
The bridge was east of it, and when they made the bridge west of it, they put it right over the top of a water main. And we had something like 40 to 50% loss in our water in this system. And we could never figure out where all the water was going. Well, one day, when the wind was blowing in November and it blew all the water out,
the water was coming out of the
Benny
main.
Fisher and myself and Gary Fisher, we happened to look underneath that bridge, and there was stuff that was thrown in the water that people had stolen someplace and threw over the bridge. It was a safe and some tools. Well, we got down underneath that bridge, and we were walking back and forth, and down by the south wall of the bridge, here's this beautiful spring coming up.
Is this Detroit Metro Water coming through this main?
That's correct. So we got a hold of Eddie Phillips. He was a manager at the time. And he says, hey, I think that we have found a major leak. So we shut the water off, and sure enough, the spring stopped coming up. So then we put new water main in from the Albemarle driveway all the way across the causeway up until onto Mesa Island.
Yes.
So the old main they'd moved that bridge over and put it right on top of a 8-inch water main.
That's an amazing story.
Well, Bill, I think, I just want to make one comment and we'll open it up further. Staff has led me to believe that some weeks or months ago, the fire chief and the township manager, I don't know who else was involved, had a meeting with Wayne County about the bridges and about your bridge. I don't know, we weren't invited, and I don't know the status of it, and I don't know if Jim or Ted can offer any insight into that.
But yeah, and it was for an emergency. If that bridge were to go down, what were we going to do? And you had the Homeland Security was involved, State Police, National Guard, Wayne County. They were all involved in the meeting. Where that is right now, I don't know. Duncan's was in charge of that, and I haven't followed up with him since then to see where that is carried on. But that was for an emergency plan. Wayne County, I believe, and I'm relying on my memory, which I hate to do, but I believe that Mesa Bridge is on the schedule for 2019 to be taken care of. But it will cost millions of dollars. That's why it's not done overnight. They have to find the money, get it from the state or the federal government, more than likely the federal government, and to take care of it. But it is, and they're fully aware of the fact that that's a one-way bridge. On off, one bridge, that's it. So they are, but they don't have the resources right now to take care of it today. But it's not that far off.
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda for the spring.
Thank you for saying
Didn't know that, Jim. So, Ted, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
No.
I don't know where to tell you. There's a lot more people in the know than members of this commission. Maybe does the township manager or the fire chief know more of what's going on?
Well, township manager was part of that also, part of that meeting. But Duncan was head manning it, and I will find out more, Bill, and I will let you know.
I'm surmising, and you can set me straight on this, but when you're dealing with emergencies, you're saying, what do we do to get a fire truck somewhere? What do we do to get an ambulance somewhere? In my mind, that's important. But you also say, what do we have to do to get to work every day, which is a little different.
And which is a different. It's a different scenario. You're to get to work every day, you want a fix. Emergency,
it's an impact on people's lives and property values. Mainly, that's how they function.
Well, yeah. If this were to go on forever, and the fix was 5 miles an hour, that's not acceptable.
It's not. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, what I'm getting at, in a way, and this is back to this communication so people understand, it has been roughly 7 months that we've been dealing with that, and we have not received, to my best knowledge, any definitive facts that have been communicated to us. And if something is in really bad shape, how long is it going to last before it quits? And you don't know, and what's going to be done. That unknowing is not... I don't wake up every night at 3 o'clock in the morning worrying about it, but having that set straight and knowing that something can be done is important, because every so often you read in the news that somebody didn't know it and a bridge goes down somewhere, and you don't want that happening to you. That's sort of where I'm at with that.
Well, with each of our projects, like West River, we always go to the county and tell them what, of course, we have to go and tell them what we're going to do because it's their road. Or if it's a water main project on their road, we still have to get their permits.
Yes.
They normally waive the permit fee for us. They have to know what the project is. We always ask them if there's any way they can contribute and help us.
That always helps.
And when you talk about communications, it's been nil from the county. We always initiate it, and after several phone calls, it's not easy. They don't respond very well. And it's a shame our county operates that way.
I'm understanding a little more here.
So at any rate, this year they did come up with some money for us on West River Road. They made a repair on East River, which if you had asked us in July, we didn't know anything about it. They selected the areas without our input. And the one case, they did select one of the worst sections of East River to make the repairs. Another section, we're grateful for anything they do, but it wasn't by far the worst section of road. So at any rate, and we understood that what they told us when we asked them to meet with us to explain what they were going to do, they said, we're going to spend $300,000 in every township. And we've selected areas that we can get in and out of quickly and do the work. So
They also patched some potholes on Meridian, I believe, did they not?
Well, they are very good. The Sibley Garage, I have to say this, it's very good when our staff, Lorinda or John, get complaints, and anyone I get, I funnel through them. The Sibley Garage is very cooperative, and they can get a hold of Joe, it is, at the Sibley Garage, the foreman. They respond, and they do patch potholes, and they try to work with us, but they also patch potholes in Belleville, if you can imagine that. That's the Sibley Garage, goes out to Belleville to patch potholes. It's a big area. Well, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
Time.
All right. I have nothing further, so we'll start at the end of the table. Mr. Van Oz. Mr. Nelson, since you're here, we're grateful you're here. You have anything to say?
Well, I'm not usually a man of few words until I get going. And as I drive around, walk around, listen, yada, yada, yada.
Is your mic working? Can you
might not have it on.
You got it on?
I'm not supposed to be in this seat.
Over.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So a friend of mine said to me, "You know what, Jim? Who in the heck is paying for East River project? The county's doing that, so why don't they do everything else?" So all of a sudden, they think that the county is going to start to do all these roads. And the rumors and craziness that comes out of this is mind-boggling. People realize we have a road issue, but as Bill said, we have a bridge issue. And in my opinion, I would like to see us put up some kind of a list to the county to prioritize the bridge repairs of the 11 or 12 bridges that we have. Now, some of them are fine, but hopefully we're going to start with the Mesa Island Bridge because, I go to the Groesville Yacht Club occasion. I'm thinking, what if I need to get hauled out of here? I don't want this to be Chappaquiddick. So, at the end of the day, I think the bridges are more important than the roads at this point in time, especially that bridge.
I do know that your township manager has been in contact with SEMCOG, who prioritizes the road programs, to talk about bridges on the island and to prioritize them. Because all the federal funds funnel through SEMCOG as the Metropolitan Planning Agency.
I'll say one more thing. Getting a new millage approved, increase in taxes, is always very difficult this day and age. It's too bad one of the millages that we currently are charging on the island aren't going to fall off in the near future. I think it's 2023, the next one, whatever it is, falls off. It's too bad it's 4 or 5 years away, but that's a good time if you show your taxes aren't going up, because this millage falls off and we're going to put it over here. If your taxes don't go up, people will probably vote for it. But they don't want any kind of a tax increase, probably for anything, but police and fire. And I get that.
Well, we have the schedule. We've always looked at these schedules, the bond debt schedule, retirement of debt. It begins in 2024, and by 2025, I think, and Ted, you can correct me, it's a like $4.5 million drop with the sewer debt falling off. 2025.
Water's edge falls off.
Actually, 2024 is our last payment.
2024. So that's only 6 years from now. Anyway, thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Les.
On the county, I've noticed how they are doing some of these roads lately. They're going in and doing certain areas that are really bad. A prime example is King Road. Now, when I leave here to go up north, I take King Road all the way out to Vining Road. And there were some sections of that road that was absolutely terrible. One section was in Trenton, right there as you go past the entrance to the dump. Well, they did that certain section, so that's nice and smooth. Then as I went out farther towards in Huron Township, just before Vining Road, there was a pretty good section in there that was really, really bad. Well, the next thing you know, it's all paved. And they also paved from Inkster Road to a certain distance, and then they stopped. So, and another one was Van Horn Road. They paved a certain section of that and stopped. So it looks like what they're doing is they're trying to spread the money around and take care of some of the bad sections and try to keep everybody happy. That's the way I feel.
Could
The only
be.
thing I would wish they'd spend a couple bucks and buy a couple signs.
Bill, Christmas is coming,
I
Les.
think
Christmas.
I did hear that part of the gas tax money is what was collected to try and begin to fix the roads. Is that true? Recently?
Not sure I fully understand
Well,
your
the new
question.
gas tax that was passed 8 or 9 or 10 months ago.
Began in
whatever.
January of
Been in-
2017.
Yeah. I think
That's
some of
6-cent bump.
some of that gas tax money I think might have been used
Well, it's certainly
to do East River.
giving them new dollars, and so hopefully they're spreading it around. The only one I know about is the Van Horn project, a little, because it was on their needs list. It was supposed to be done last year, so they finally did it this year. Which
Another thing, Bill, I-75 from Houghton Lake North up to County Line. I got a hold of MDOT to find out what they were doing. It looked like chip seal. It's not chip seal. It's called slip seal. It's a form of chip seal, but it uses finer gravel. And then when they get that one coat down, the next thing they do is they put that, they call it the fog coat. And that's why that road was so black and looked really good. And the guy explained it to me. He says, yeah, this is a form of chip seal. But it's not the chip seal like you probably are accustomed seeing.
right on I-75.
Right north of Houghton Lake, all the way up to county line of Crawford County. Now that's the northbound side. I don't, because I've been going home 127, so I don't know if they did the southbound, but I know that northbound lane was done with that, and he told me what it was.
Well, it turned out better than
The horse mill, yeah.
horse mill.
That's all I got.
Okay, Phil?
Nothing further.
Nothing further.
I know we really haven't talked about it, and I don't want to go into a big discussion about the millage. I think it's something we do have to think about and see, decide what we're going to do going forward with it. But I would like to throw out that at our next meeting in December, we invite the people who didn't vote for the millage to come and tell us why. So we can really hear, we can make all kinds of assumptions, as to what happened, and I'd really like whoever put out that flyer a couple days before the vote, I'd really like them to come and explain their position, because unfortunately there were a lot of things in that flyer that weren't true, were certainly inaccurate, and how, I have no idea how much that hurt us on the millage, but I'd like them, I'd like the people who were against it to come and tell us why and what we should do to get our roads, what their thoughts are. So just a thought that we might open up next meeting with a little open house for those people and let them speak.
Certainly. And people are always welcome to come to our meeting.
You know what, Jim, along those lines, I happened to be in the clerk's office, and it was after that mailer was sent out, and I inquired at that juncture how many absentee ballots had been already disseminated. So there were about 2,800, so I'm going to say about 8 days or so before the election, there were 2,800.
Actually, 2,900.
2,900 that were out.
Yeah.
And a substantial number of those were back before that mailer came out. So whenever we look at a situation, it's good to get the big picture. So I just have a gut feeling, no way to statistically perfectly analyze it, but the mailer wasn't good, but it didn't strike about half of the people that voted. Didn't really strike them. So that's something that we need to be aware of.
Actually, the absentee ballots helped the road millage.
I would think it would.
The number against was from the precinct count was much higher than what the final count was with that. So it may have had. I mean, we don't know. It may have had an effect.
For the purpose of my comment is that at least half of the votes, approximately, probably were garnered before that mailer went out. So we can't use that as, oh, that must have been the problem.
That's my point. Nobody's saying any one thing did it.
No.
That's why I want the people to come in and tell us, what was it that you didn't like about it?
Mr. Heil, since we're still talking here, and we like our meetings to go on a lot longer than this.
I'm not trying to extend the meeting, but I'd like to add a bit of clarity here, just to ask a couple of quick questions. Approximately 2,900 votes were absentee that were received. How many total votes were cast?
6,300.
434.
6,400.
6,400.
So the short side of half were absentee ballots. And if I'm understanding this correctly, just for clarification, those ballots, of course, were cast without the impact of the circular.
Correct.
So the circular had an impact on the other half, and it appears...
Possibly.
Yeah, that long half of half had more negative votes in it than the... That's what I wanted to make sure I understood. That gives a sense of proportion to what's going on.
Well, now there's one issue with that.
Okay.
I don't know when I didn't get the flyer. Oddly enough, I didn't get it mailed to me.
That must be discrimination.
Yeah, so I do know, in my case of my daughter, she had an absentee ballot, but she didn't file it till Monday, day before the election.
Right.
And the day before the election.
Right.
So when people took out the absent ballots, that doesn't mean they return them promptly.
Okay.
So there might have been a good portion of absent ballots that came in after this. And
that's important, Bill. Thanks.
So it's just a minor distinction, but I wanted to share that with you.
Sure. Thank you.
One last thing. I'd just like to wish my board here, my commission, a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh.
And all of the people in DPS.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody and to everybody in the audience that's watching our meeting. So we're not done yet. John, any updates from you?
Yes, sir. Our fall water main flushing program is in progress. We began this morning. We're going to be going from Grosio Parkway south. Check your Grosio Connect each day for daily updates on what locations we'll be at. The Dallas Drive water main project has been approved by DEQ. Wayne County had asked for a couple of revisions to the drainage improvements, which will add a little bit to the cost of the project, but that should be happening in the next month or so. We'll begin that project on Dallas Drive. The water main replacement project on Park Lane, north of Bridge Road, was submitted to DEQ and Wayne County for their approval today, so that will probably happen in the spring. And let's.
Of course, that could be built anytime, really, right?
Good, yes. Depends on how long it's going to take for the approvals.
Don,
Yes, sir.
they moved it out of the road?
Yes.
Talking Park Lane or Dallas?
Park Lane.
Bursting in place.
Plenty of room to put it outside of the road that's the worst thing, to put a water main under a road.
I didn't know it was going under the road.
That was a proposal from Rains.
You changed that around, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're right. It's not going under the road. It's cheaper, too, to not go under the road.
Right.
The Dallas Drive, why, are we crossing a ditch or something with the
Yes,
water?
there's a drainage ditch. Well, there's a swale there currently, and they want to make it a ditch to get the water to flow to the outlet. So there's going to be some pipe and.
Not a real expensive deal?
No.
A couple $1,000 or something? All right. That'll come out of our drain
Correct.
fund.
You still going to make that go this year?
Yes, sir.
Let me know when it
And
starts so I can leave
are you going to
town.
truck that pipe down that section of Park Lane that's still gravel?
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway,
If the truck driver can find it.
you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Brenda? Okay. Well, that's it for the DPS Commission tonight. As Mr. Budney says, wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
I will second that.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Adjourned. Thank you.